Hi everybody, my name is Chris Morgan and I'm going to show you a quick demonstration of Global PD, which is nominated for 3 Codie Awards. So I'll try to encompass the criteria for each of the Codie Awards as we go through this. This is specifically for the Codie judges, so I hope that this answers most of your questions. We're going to start here on a site called All Things PLC, because a lot of what you're being asked to judge us on is the research on which, the educational research on which our product is based. So All Things PLC is a site, a no-commerce site, dedicated to the PLC at work model. And what you're on here is a page that shows literally hundreds of schools that have gone through the process of the professional learning community at work model. And this is an educational model that incorporates a lot of rigor and a lot of collaboration and professional development. And all of these schools, the interesting thing about all of them is in order to get on this page, they all had to have not only followed the PLC at work process, but they had to have shown year-over-year achievement data that showed performance improvement and sustained improvement year over year. So the tool you're about to see was designed by and based on the experts that developed the professional learning community at work process. So it's called Global PD, and we're going to kind of jump to that tool now. I'm going to start in this administration area. So Global PD is a web-based tool. Everything that you're going to see here is a responsive website that works on mobile devices as well as tablets, phones, and desktops and laptops. It is a cloud-based solution, so no installation required, very flexible. And we do a lot of, what I'm going to start here is because we do a lot of customization on behalf of our customers. So we've designed this tool to be malleable to their needs. One of the things we do for all of our customers prior to them using the tool is we load their academic standards. So the PLC process is very strongly based on academic standards. And so what you're seeing here, this is a demo account, is the Common Core State standards. But we load whatever academic standards the school or district that is using this tool are using. And that's one of the many ways that we customize it. You'll see how that comes into play later on as I go through the tool. The other thing we do for our schools and districts is we automatically load their course or class structure. And you'll see how that works as well. And then of course we load their users, their rosters of teachers and students, and we put them in the appropriate place. So everybody in this tool that's placed in this tool, if I go to add here, is associated with a role which determines what they can access or see in the application, and they're associated with a group, and these groups are specialized or customized for each school or district, and this determines on whom they can take those actions. And again, you'll see how that comes into play. So just know that before somebody jumps into this tool, before they start using it, we've done all these customizations on their behalf so that it's very familiar to them. They see their roles, their standards, their groups, their users, their students. So Global PD is at its base 3 things. It is a large and growing professional development library, and this is for the professional development of educators, largely based on the professional learning community at work process, but not limited to that. There's lots of different content in this library. And what we focus on in the building of this platform is how can we take content in this library and make it sustain or extend professional development that you might be doing in other ways. And I'll talk to you about that a little while. So it's a library of content that you can collaborate with other teachers around and you can learn from. The other thing it is a set of web-based tools that you can use to actually do the work of a PLC. So that work is quite rigorous and sometimes requires more collaboration, more sharing than teachers are used to. And so this tool takes folks step by step through the process. The other part of Global PD is a service, which is basically we connect at Solution True. We have hundreds and hundreds of experts that work in the field all the time, and we connect them through webinar-based technology to teachers and teams in schools. So we get one-on-one or one-on-team coaching sessions through webinar-based technology. Now you're not going to see that, but that's another component of this service. So let's start on the Learning tab. again, this is a large and growing professional development library. In this library, we have hundreds and hundreds of videos, books, and tools and study guides. So the library is, we use, one of the things that you'll be asked to judge us on is kind of how usable this tool is. So hopefully this model of navigation makes sense to you and you've seen it before, so that we use kind of a way to filter the content similar to a hotels.com or amazon.com or very, very common practices. So you can filter content by topic. You can also filter content by author. So I see something by Ken Williams here, so I'll choose that. Try JK, here we go. And you can also filter by media type. So if you just wanted to see videos by Ken related to collaborative culture, quickly you can filter down what is hundreds of videos to it looks like 5 videos that are relevant to that. You can also search. So I see monitoring norms here, so I'm just going to type that in as an example to filter your search a little bit more. So now you have the opportunity to filter again by topics, by authors, by media type, and you can also just search, which is what most people do. And this search works just like Google search. So if I wanted to say "and establishing," then I would search for that and find those things that had both of those things, or I could do an "or," and I could do maybe a exact match on monitoring norms, and in that way I'm going to find exactly what I'm looking for. So very simple navigation, very common navigation to get to the content that you're looking for in quick pace. When you find a piece of content that you're looking for, you can click on that piece of content and immediately you can watch it. Now I'll just play a minute of this. So all of the content in Global PD is designed to be used by very busy teachers. So it's all between 5 and 15 minutes in length usually. This one's, or 3 and 15 minutes in length. This one's 4 minutes and 38 seconds. All of the content can be viewed in full screen just like you can on YouTube, so you would expect that. It's all streaming from servers that are close to the end user, so we hope that they get an optimal experience. And again, everything that you're seeing can be viewed on a mobile device too. To the left, you see that there are similar items. So as I'm navigating content, I can dive into similar items if I want to dive down to a specific topic. Now, let's get into kind of how people can collaborate around this tool. When it's used right, we encourage people to use this to, again, extend and sustain their professional development. So in schools and districts, typically a professional development takes the form of either an event you go to, or let's say you have a PD day, maybe a half day or a couple hours a month, or sometimes a full day. And usually what happens is teachers go to those can be very powerful, very, very educational, but often they leave then, and it's hard to keep that going on. So what we recommend that teachers do, or that administrators do, is they come in here and they click this Add to Playlist link. So this allows them to build their own personal playlist on the content that they're going to talk about in the upcoming PD days. So we recommend they do a flipped classroom approach. So I'm gonna, you can see I've added this to this March PD day, and since it's May, we'll go ahead and change this to a June PD day. Let's say we have an upcoming PD day in June. Not likely for most teachers, but let's just imagine that we do. And I'm going to add this to it. And so I'm going to come over here and maybe find a couple of other things that I like and add those to my playlist as well.
The next thing we know about
so we'll add this to my June PD day.
Process is that they monitor and support others to help them succeed at what they're being asked.
And we'll just go ahead and add one more for safekeeping. In this case, we're going to do a chapter of a book. So this gives you an example of how a book chapter would look if you were to view it. It takes over the whole page just like Kindle does. You can read it online. So I'm going to add this chapter to the book to my PD playlist as well. So June PD playlist. PD day. So now what I've done is I've built my own personal PD playlist, and where that gets powerful, I've got a lot of playlists over here, but where that gets powerful is if I go in here and I choose that, I've got a number of different videos and books that I've added to this. This is what the focus of the PD day is about, and let's say that I want some of this content to be pre-work. So what I can do is I can add a section to this, and I can say this is pre-work. I can say please review this and leave a comment on the aspects that you are concern you or excite you. And I can add that to this section, and then maybe I can say also I'm going to add some post-work. Please use these tools to meet with your team and come up with norms, let's say. So I'm going to add that section, and what I can do now is I can kind of move these sections around. So I can say, okay, this is going to be post-work, which is going to encompass, you know, everything after this thing, and the pre-work that I want to do maybe is this video and these two videos in this chapter. So now what I can do is I can share this with groups or with individuals. So here's where that customization where we've added the groups comes in handy, because if I wanted to share this with the whole school district, I could, or if I wanted to share this with a high school, or if I wanted to just share this with the mathematics department, or maybe even just the geometry team in the mathematics department. But whoever I want to share it with, I can do that and click share. If I want to, I can also share with individuals, so I can share with people by name. So I can just type in their name. We'll type in Codie Christensen, and then that's going to share with them. Now, when they get to that content, because I've asked them to, they can go ahead and leave comments on that. So these comments are threaded discussions, just like you see on Facebook. So I can add a comment. I can say, "Good point, Robert. But think of this way." So I can add a comment to Robert. I can have multiple discussions. So before, this is pre-work. This is flipping the classroom. So before I get to a PD day, and if I'm the administrator of that PD day, I have chosen some content. All the teachers have a baseline of information before they walk into the room, and they have had a chance to, an opportunity to state their opinions about that content, and to also read the opinions of others, which is far more collaborative by nature. I, as the administrator of that PD day, have also had a chance to read through those, so I can completely change the way I might have gone about that PD day before I enter the room, just by the comments that I'm seeing and the concerns that people are having. So that's one way that you can collaborate using Global PD. You can also share individual pieces of content. You don't have to share a playlist if you choose to. Okay, so that's the Learning tab, and I'll just kind of go through quickly. Also, you've seen the reading, the book chapters, but you can also have what we call tools and study guides, and these are tools that people can use as teams or as teachers, and the difference is that they can download those and print them out. So lots of different tools within the library. Let's jump over to teamwork now. Now, teamwork, again, is a set of tools that help teachers and teams go through the professional learning community at work process step by step. And again, this is a very rigorous process. So basically in this process, they have to do 4 things. They have to decide what it is that they want their students to learn. The teams have to do this together. How they're going to learn it, and that usually means building common assessments. What it is that how they're going to determine if the students, or what they're going to do if the students have learned it, and what they're going to do if the students have not learned it. So that work starts on this Manage Standards and Learning Targets area, and in this area, teachers basically go through all of their standards, and they choose from those a select group of standards that they consider to be essential. So we start with the assumption that we don't have time in a school year to possibly teach all the standards. That's been proven by many researchers. So as a team, we need to agree on those that are essential. And so we're going to do that by coming in and clicking Add Essential Standards. We're going to navigate through our academic standards because those have been preloaded in the tool for us by Solution Tree. We're going to choose what we consider to be an essential standard, and then we're going to break that down into, because standards tend to be very broad, into more manageable granular learning targets. So here we see use addition and subtraction within 20 to solve word problems. So that's probably two different learning targets. One is use addition within 20, blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to write that in student-friendly language, so I can add numbers within between 1 and 20. So you get the idea of how you would write it in student-friendly language because it's very important for the students to understand it in their terminology. You're also going to determine what the depth of knowledge is for that. And these are all things that the team is doing together. You would then add another learning target which would use subtraction. So you're really getting down to the granular aspects of learning in this tool. Okay, so this is what it is we want our students to learn. So as a team, we've all agreed on this, and those are documented in one place. So we can see it, our teammates can see it, our administrators can see it. We've committed to these essential standards and learning targets that all of our students are going to be proficient in these. If I want to, I can print this out into a nice readable report. So a nice readable report that shows all of the academic standards that we are focusing on and the learning targets that we've broken those down into. So once you've all given a common assessment to your students based on the questions that you've all agreed on and based on the standards that you're focusing on, you come to a page like this. And this page basically is designed to elicit conversation amongst teachers and identify those students in need of intervention or enrichment. So the way this works is on each row you have a different class, a different group. So in this case there are 3 different classes giving this common assessment. Over here to the right you see a pie chart representing the distribution of scores. So yellow means at proficient, green means above proficient, red means below proficient. Under item analysis you have a bar representing each of the questions or items in this particular quiz or in this particular common assessment. The amount of red you see represents the percentage of students who struggled with that. So you can see per class, and you can also see across the whole team. So the idea here is you want to quickly hone in on patterns. So here we've got a pattern with question 2 where the lowest amount, where just about all classes had a good amount of folks struggling. It looks like Mr. Sims had the lowest at 21.4%. So if we click on any one of these bars, you'll actually be able to see the question that was presented to the students and the percentage of students that chose each answer. And so this lets you not only hone in on a specific question that they're having trouble with, but on a specific pattern that students might be having. So this is clearly a pattern where 24% chose incorrect answer B. And now I can filter these students and see just those students who answered question 2 or question 3 on answer B. So I've got a very specific misconception on a very specific learning target, and I've honed in on a problem. So now as a team, we can go ahead and discuss this. And it might be that Mr. Sims, who had the lowest amount of folks struggle with this, has some tips for us in terms of reteaching this concept to these students. So we're going to go ahead and reteach the concept to these students and then go back and give them another common assessment to make sure that they're proficient. You can do the same type of analysis by learning target. So this particular assessment has 2 different learning targets, and you can see here that students struggled in this second learning target far more than they did in the first. So if I click on that, I can see all of the questions that pertain to that learning target. You can actually see that one question 3 is one of those questions. But here's another one that the students struggled on, and you've got a bit of a pattern here too. So if I wanted to see all of the students that showed patterns related to either of the questions on this learning target, I could filter in that way too. And now I've got a subset of students that I can look at, talk about one-on-one with my teammates, and I can talk about strategies related to these specific things, and hopefully when I go back to reteach those students, I've got new tools, new ideas to do that with. If you want to, so this is one of the things that you're asked to judge us on is just the reporting and its use in the classroom. So hopefully that makes sense. Another kind of reporting you can do is you can drill in to any given student, and you can see exactly what they answered on this particular assessment, which is to be expected. But you can also see kind of a line chart of every assessment that they've taken this school year. So we're at the end of the school year. There's a lot of different assessments. And if I wanted to dig into that, I could by drilling in to see that student's basically dashboard of information. So on this page, as it loads, you'll see all of the different assessments that the student took. Again, green is above proficient, yellow proficient, red below proficient. If you've done an intervention, let's say this was the original test, this was the second test, and we did an intervention, you can see if that intervention was effective. If you want to view any of the detail about that assessment, you can click on any one of those dots, or you can click below where they're presented as well. And you can also see how many times comments have been made by other teachers about the student, or the student's been flagged for follow-up. So again, another reporting tool, another collaboration tool, and this is accessible by anybody on the team. Anybody that teaches Jennifer has access to this, so another collaboration tool that allows us to work with her. The last collaboration tool that I'll focus on, and again, you're getting a very brief demonstration here, is the dashboard. So on this dashboard, you can see, and I'm going to go back in time a little bit just to give you an idea. Let's see if I apply that filter. Let's go back a little bit further. We're in a demo site here, so there might not be that many comments, but if I had added a comment, you can see here's some comments that have been made about different students, and I can kind of see that there's a threaded discussion that I can take. So this is one place where you can view any comments about any student that you've worked with. You can also see the distribution of scores across a number of different assessments that match your learning targets that you're choosing or your time frame. And you can see learning targets to watch. So these are learning targets where students have scored below proficient in higher numbers. And so I can see the teams that are working on those learning targets. If I'm that team, this gives me an indication, hey, we really want to focus on this. Larger percentage of students are struggling with this particular learning target. If I want to see the assessments related to those learning targets, I can go ahead and click in and view any one of those assessments to view the detail behind them very quickly. So that's the teamwork portion. So I'm going to go through real quickly the aspects of that you're to judge us on, and just kind of talk about how this relates to the different, hopefully to all the Codie awards that you're reviewing. One is customization. So again, before folks use this tool, we customize it by loading their academic standards, their groups, their roles, and their users. We also load other things, like if they're using rubrics for their assessments, we load those as well. Another way that customers can customize is by building their own playlists. So they can build their own playlists and then share those with folks to, again, extend and sustain the learning. Customers can also customize this by choosing their own essential standards and building their own common formative assessments. And then they customize it by looking at their own students and their reports around those students. Feedback and reinforcement is another feature that you might be asked to judge us on. So there's a lot of different ways for feedback in this tool. So one way, again, is within any piece of content, you can view a piece of content and have a threaded discussion around that. You can also share content with other folks, and you can share playlists. So that's one place of feedback and reinforcement. Another place for feedback and reinforcement is just as you're viewing common assessments. Let's say I'm viewing a given student. Actually, let's go to a student and let's just type in a student's name here. I can leave notes on any given student at any given time, and I can see notes related to a student at any given time. So that's another place for feedback and reinforcement. So if I look at Abby Herbert, she's been flagged for follow-up, and there's been one comment left on her, which I can then add to. So seems to be doing better now, and post that comment. I can also see the dashboard for feedback and reinforcement. So in our dashboard, we have lots of different ways to comment, and you can see the threaded comments that have happened related to. And as I add a comment, again, let's say I'm going to link this to a student, and I'm going to say Abby Herbert again. And I'm going to say Abby is doing better after being out. I can also link this to specific learning targets that we're focusing on. So feedback and reinforcement is a big part of the tool, and hopefully you see lots of examples. Innovation and research. So again, this is all based on the PLC at Work process found here at All Things PLC. You can go here and find lots and lots of evidence of its effectiveness in the workplace. Global PD has been designed with and continues to be designed by and approved by the experts that develop the PLC at Work process. Flexibility, so there's a lot of different ways you can use the tool, and it also works across all browsers. It's a cloud-based tool, so no installation is required. Works across tablets, laptops, desktops. Reports, so you're looking at one of the reports that we have, and that's the dashboard report. We also have reports on given common assessments, which you saw before. And we have reports actually on usage. So as teachers use this platform, many different schools want to possibly give CEUs for use within the platform of content. So we track within the platform who has seen what and for how long and when. And then you can drill in to see which content they actually view. So those are the major components that I think you're asked to judge us on, and hopefully we've done a good job of conveying that. If you have any questions, you can always contact our support team. So thanks for your time and for considering us, and good luck in judging all the different applicants.